Hello and welcome to our presentation. Today we're going to be discussing hybrid physical therapy education. This background was meant to represent our e-learning aspect of physical therapy education. I found it really pertinent to the topic. So defining hybrid learning. Hybrid education is a type of blended learning that combines face-to-face with online instruction. We'll get into some of the nuances between our blended learning and hybrid definition in future slides. But for now, let's justify the selection of this topic. Hybrid physical therapy education is a really pertinent topic because of this large wave of implementation we're seeing at the program level. So it's going beyond hybrid education within specific courses, and now we're seeing entire programs integrate this model. There's limited but growing research on the introduction of this fully hybrid PT program that really warrants us examining this through this course project as it pertains to e-learning. Connection to the workplace. So the PT school that I currently instruct at is actually undergoing the accreditation process for adding in a fully hybrid PT program. So working with regional accreditors and the Physical Therapy Association. Let's dive into the history and evolution of e-learning and PT education. So here we have a chart that shows our timeline. In the 1990s, we're seeing a blended learning delivery models start to be offered across different educational levels and topics. It's the early 2000s where we saw blended education make its way into doctor of physical therapy education, but just within specific courses where some online content was offloaded within the traditional face-to-face course. And then in our mid to late 2000s, that's where we start to see entire programs with blended education introduced. The nuance there is the blended education still had a very high percentage of face-to-face time, with just some of the content offloaded to e-learning. In 2015, we saw the introduction of the first fully hybrid doctor physical therapy program. And there, hybrid in the PT program, we saw a higher percentage of the coursework online, with these programs just having 1 or 2 times in a term that students came face-to-face. But hybrid is a higher percentage of online. And then we know what happened in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic, fundamentally changing our delivery education model around the world, including with physical therapy education. And then in 2021 on, we're seeing this large growth in the number of hybrid doctor physical therapy programs offered around the country. Let's talk about the evolution of hybrid PT education. There was a need and a catalyst. So prior to the pandemic, we still had healthcare worker shortages, but COVID-19 significantly exacerbated that, leading to a more prominent imbalance between the supply of physical therapists and that demand or that need that led to limited healthcare access and a decline in quality. The healthcare worker shortage we're seeing in 2021, 10,000 more PTs left the workforce than those who graduated in. So now we're talking an educational level problem. The number graduating in not matching the number leaving. And then the Health Resources and Services Administration projects all the way out to 2037. We're seeing estimations for continued shortages across all medical disciplines, including physical therapy. Let's talk about the educational impact. I like this image because it shows clinics are empty, our PT educational clinic setups were empty because students were abruptly forced into online and hybrid education at PT. So although challenges occurred, this abrupt transition resulted in technological innovations in teaching and resources, along with a widespread recognition from students, faculty, and programs. There are aspects of PT education that were actually improved through the e-learning environment. Diving into the current state of hybrid learning and PT education. So hybrid learning is being shown to have significant advantages. This includes flexibility for students and faculty, increased access to education, lower tuition costs, which is decreasing our student debt load coming out of school, and enhanced learning experiences. By blending this digital and physical learning environment, we're seeing a nice breakdown of components of education to match specific courses and specific course content within this e-learning and face-to-face hybrid environment. So looking at the prevalence, the pandemic fostered this fundamental change in the structure, which ended up leading to a long-term shift of increased e-learning in hybrid learning environments. that has addressed some of those previous barriers mentioned. We are currently seeing 10 plus fully accredited hybrid PT programs in the United States as of 2024, with that number growing. So this is showing that we're seeing a more feasible and potentially more enticing pathway to a future career in physical therapy through this hybrid education model. And then educational and workforce outcomes. So research is showing that digital strategies in PT education have been shown to be as effective as our traditional in-person strategies for developing skill, knowledge, and overall student satisfaction in their physical therapy education. And then addressing the healthcare worker shortage is going to promote social change by giving, one, just more access to quality healthcare, a more diverse workforce as we're bringing more diversity into education, better patient outcomes, a reduction in health disparity, and a more suitable workforce. So the student experience. Here we're going to dive into some audio from a podcast that describes this hybrid learning environment for students discussing with an instructor. So thank you. That was a dive into an American Physical Therapy Association podcast talking about the student benefits of these hybrid immersive labs. We're seeing these long days where students are able to come to campus after a long period of e-learning and apply all their learning. Let's dive into future direction of hybrid learning and physical therapy education. Research is showing this hybrid design not only feasible, but offers greater opportunities for access to education and flexibility in PT education. And then as more programs are becoming accredited and we're getting more data from the graduates and their outcomes, research is going to expand to give continued ability to refine and innovate within this mode of instruction. Expansion programs and her research on the outcomes. So what we're seeing is hybrid education is on the rise because of its promise in addressing these long-term challenges we've seen in PT education: the access, faculty shortages, healthcare worker shortages, flexibility issues, and the student debt load. All of those are being addressed through that model. And then we're seeing better data on predicting students that are really successful in this model. So that's going to even improve our hybrid education model further. We're creating student profiles that have been shown to be successful within the hybrid model, whether that be data from undergrad education, data from self-efficacy, data from how students are doing within their current education. And that's going to look at their graduation rates and licensure pass rates to then help us really improve outcomes, which carries on to that next slide, where with this further data, with a thoughtful admission process on students that are going to have high likelihood for success, and even just education through the admission process of schools being able to say, hey, these qualities, this background, these traits are where we're seeing a lot of success, allows for students to be prepared for what's coming and know if they match this educational model to create a lot of success in this hybrid environment. Addressing further challenges and the lessons learned from that, we also need to ensure we're still promoting healthy e-learning practices within these programs. So making sure there's some time spent on educating, which is perfect in the physical therapy world, on getting up from the computer, taking breaks, proper ergonomic setup to promote health and quality education in these students. And then lastly, the hybrid model is really being shown to be preferred by student and faculty, but you still have to make sure that face-to-face time is integrated within lab time in this very hands-on profession. So in conclusion, the current and future state of hybrid physical therapy programs is promising, and this increased research is really supporting that. I'd like to lastly give a thank you to Dr. McPherson and the colleagues throughout the semester for their thoughtful feedback that's been crucial to the success of this project. Here's a list of the references that will also be included in the write-up. Thank you for your time.